No, thank you. Sleepy. You come back in an hour.
Need sleepy.
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. Good morning to everybody. Hope everybody's doing okay. Special shout out to all of our viewers on Fight TV. And don't forget, you can download the free Fight TV app so you can watch our show, plus all the other programming on Fight TV on your handheld app. Just visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the Fight TV banner, which is on the right-hand side, and download the app today. Let me know what you think, man. We're glad to be on Fight TV and your handheld, Fight.tv, F-I-T-E. So let me know. Today's show, she's being brought to you by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located in the recovering St. Simon's Island area. Yeah, recovering from that dang hurricane. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. And I kind of wish I was in St. Simon's Island now. We're supposed to get snow today. Snow. It's not even November 1st. We're supposed to get snow today. It's just not right. And speaking of snow, how about you snowboards? You snowboards heading south on I-95. Don't forget, you can get to Sal's, enjoy his delicioso food by taking a 15-minute detour off of I-95. And I kid you not, it'll take you 15 minutes from I-95. That includes stopping at a couple of lights. So what the hell are you waiting for? Swing by Sal's, mention this show, and get a free cannoli with your meal. www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. And today's show is being brought to you in part by BAM! My book. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet. It's a great read. It's a quick read. Once you start reading it, you can't put it down. Get a copy of my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, today, where all good books are sold. And you can literally get a copy of it while you're watching or listening to the show right now by visiting barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. Hey, you want an electronic version? No problem. Kindle and Nook has it as well. So you can get a copy. It's a great read. It's a story of a slave, a man born as a slave, forced into fighting. He was forced. He didn't even want to fight. He was forced into fighting, fought for his freedom, won his freedom, and went on to become the first American world heavyweight champion. And really, for all intent and purposes, got robbed of being the first world heavyweight champion. Read the story. Find out why we got a 5-star rating across the board, and find out why I'm so adamant about trying to get the recognition that my man Tom Molyneux deserves. He didn't get it while he was alive, and he's still not getting it today, all because of the color of his skin. Read the book. It makes a great Christmas gift. I hate to say it, but Christmas, she's just around the corner. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet. Get a copy today. I got a couple of emails to read, and I got some news to talk about, but my main topic today, Manny Pacquiao against Jessie Vargas. The fight's next weekend. It's happening next weekend, and Manny Pacquiao's been heavy into the politics. He's actually did most of his training camp over in the Philippines. He's here in the States now. Normally, it's the other way around. Where he spends minimal time over in the Philippines and then comes over here and focuses on the fight. It's been reversed this time. It's a big fight for Manny Pacquiao because he's hoping to gain and land a rematch with Floyd Mayweather sometime in 2017, most likely May. And my question today is, can Jessie Vargas steal the show from Manny Pacquiao? Can Jessie Vargas rock the apple cart, so to speak? Can he get an upset and end the career of Manny Pacquiao? Because that, for all intent and purposes, he would. He's no slouch. This is a tough fight for Manny. This is no layup. This is no Andre Berto versus Floyd Mayweather. This is no Alexander Brand against Andre Ward. This is a real fight for Manny Pacquiao. I give him a lot of credit for taking the fight. But can Jessie Vargas upset the apple cart and beat Manny Pacquiao? Joining me right now from St. Simon's Island, Georgia, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Not only can he flip pizzas, not only can he make the greatest food in the world, but this guy is a New Jersey Boxing Hall of Famer. He's a Guinness Book of World Records. He's a one-time top 10 lightweight contender. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you got to welcome the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sal Rocky Senecola. What's up, Sal?
Oh man, I'm telling you, you're gonna force me into another comeback.
I'm not.
You know, I'm waving you on. Come on.
We're not gonna let you. We're not gonna let you.
But
what
hey,
do you?
Billy, thank you for such a warm and great introduction.
Yeah,
and hello to everybody. And it's always a pleasure to be here on the show with you, Bill. And I love the fans, love the topics, and boy, I'll tell you, yes, this is a make or break fight for Manny Pacquiao, because there is no Floyd Mayweather or any other fight that is going to give top serious contention if Manny Pacquiao does not beat Vargas, and that's going to be a tough fight. I don't know. Can you call this a tune-up fight?
No, I wouldn't call it a tune-up fight.
You can't.
And I think
this is what we're talking about. These guys want to get in the ring. This is old school. This is great. This is not a layup by any means on either end.
Well, Jessie Vargas is no slouch, and although I've seen him fight not only of course on TV but live several times, and I will say this about Jessie Vargas: he does have a tendency to fight a little lazy at times. And I personally was ringside for a fight in which I thought he lost, and they ended up giving him the nod in a close decision. I think Jessie Vargas has to be the best Jessie Vargas that's ever stepped foot in the ring. I don't know if we've ever seen the best Jessie Vargas yet, but I do think he's got the tools and the skill set to beat Manny Pacquiao. I think that if somehow he has been working on his counterpunching ability and somehow has gotten some sparring with some really fast fighters, he's got a good chance, because Jessie Vargas, don't forget, Sal, Jessie Vargas has some pop. He's got some power behind his punch. The only thing I'm worried about where Manny Pacquiao far exceeds Jessie Vargas is his movement and his hand speed. But Manny Pacquiao is no spring chicken, and I mean, as we age, we definitely slow down. We don't lose our power, per se, but we definitely slow down, right?
Well, I don't know. See, I would have to say the laws of physics and physiology, yeah, I guess we lose something. But I'll tell you what, hopefully we make up in experience and other things that can counter that. Because as you know, I still feel I could get back in the ring. But no, I'll tell you what, Manny Pacquiao is going to have to be right on. And Jessie Vargas cannot afford to be lazy and go to sleep or do anything else. Because you know what? Pacquiao is going to bring his A game in. We know that. And he's going to be ready to fight. And he is an aggressive kind of fighter that's going to take it to him. So Vargas can't be lackadaisical or so. He's got to be ready. He's got to be on for the distance and every round, minute to minute. He's got to be ready.
So, do you think that Manny Pacquiao will be bringing his A game? I mean, there is some speculation that he hasn't, especially since he's been, occupied with his political career over in the Philippines. Plus, there's a lot of unrest going on in the Philippines. Do you think he was able to focus? Plus, don't forget, normally when he prepares for a fight, he's spending most of his time here in the States, and it's been the reverse. Manny has always seemed to do okay when everyone says there's too much pressure on him. I do believe he needs to bring his A game. I'm starting to wonder, and I hate to believe the press clippings, but I'm starting to wonder, if this will be the fight that Manny Pacquiao takes a little lightly and stuff. I mean, let's face it. He wins this fight, he's possibly on to another $100 million payday. How could you not take it serious?
Well, you do, and I'm going to tell you, this is the other facet that people don't realize. Nobody knows what's in a fighter's head or mind better than what a fighter does, and whether the I guess idea is that he may be complacent, he may be preoccupied. I mean, Manny knows what it is. He knows what he has on the line, and I'm sure whether he wants to lull anybody into complacency or just act like he doesn't have his A game going on right now. This is Manny Pacquiao's last chance, his last hurrah. Because as we know, if he does not look good or loses to Vargas, there isn't going to be a big $100 million payday or more, and not a Mayweather 2, or not even a real good layup later on. There's not going to be another excuse. Where do you go from here if you lose? You know, well, it was a long time off. I could do this. I could do that. Yeah, you're still not going to be up on top. Like I said, Manny Pacquiao has done it all. He knows how to dig deep into the reserves. He knows what he could do. I'm not a great Manny Pacquiao fan after his last performance, but against Mayweather. But the bottom line is, he knows he's a professional. He's got to bring his A game in here, or there's not going to be any tomorrow in his career.
Tomorrow. No.
You know what I was gonna see? Okay, here we go. I always flash back between the reality and the fiction of Rocky Balboa, when Apollo Creed is trying to sprint on the beach with Rocky, and Rocky says, "Hey, we'll try this. We'll do it again tomorrow." And Creed says, "There is no tomorrow." Well, there is no tomorrow for Manny Pacquiao. This is it.
This is true. This is true.
Does life imitate art, or art imitate life? I don't know, but the damn thing is, this is it. This is the fire. This is the wood on a fire. That's a funny term. I just came up with that. But anyway, yeah, Pacquiao's got to be on. He's got to be his A game, and he's got to take it to. He's got to look impressive. He's got to look impressive to win this fight.
Coach is in the chat room. He says too much money on the line from a Mayweather rematch for Manny not to be prepared, and he's predicting Manny by a devastating knockout. So,
and that's going to be exciting.
Well,
if that's what he could do.
The best thing
he's capable of doing. The
best thing,
that's going to be the way he's got to finish this fight.
Right. The best thing he could do is win by a devastating knockout. I personally think that maybe it's accumulation knockout, but we'll see. But anyway, some other news I want to talk to you about. Oh, that damn heavyweight division, Sal. You know, I mean, it's in disarray again. Yeah. Well, then again, it's always been for the last 30 years. But in the management ranks, Vladimir Huronov, who's a manager and specifically of Alexander Ustinov, no relation to Peter, but
gotta go there.
You know, Ustinov, this guy's name has been mentioned a gazillion times. Where he's supposed to fight Luis Ortiz, he's supposed to fight this one and that one. I mean, really, he's got no business fight anybody. I mean, anytime he's ever, I think he's only got one loss, but it's the only good guy he ever fought. But apparently, Huronov feels that the WBA, who actually has Ustinov ranked at number 3, should be ordering the fight between Ustinov and Vladimir Klitschko, who's ranked at number 2. Their number 1 guy, Luis Ortiz, apparently has vacated his interim WBA belt in order to fight Malik Scott, which HBO will have on, which is supposedly setting up a fight with Lucas Brown and Ustinov, because, according to Huronov, Klitschko, because of his injury, is now leaning back towards fighting Anthony Joshua in April of next year. You know, the WBA is more confusing than, space exploration. I mean, the truth of the matter is, I personally would rather see Klitschko fight Anthony Joshua. I know Anthony Joshua is still going to fight in December either way, but I would much rather see Klitschko fight Anthony Joshua. And to be honest with you, for a guy that's looking to, regain his status in one shot, don't you feel that he could gain that by beating Anthony Joshua versus a Lucas Brown, or worse yet, the winner of a Ustinov against Brown, or even an Ortiz for that matter. I mean, doesn't it make more sense for Klitschko to fight Anthony Joshua?
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, you know what? Like I said, you want to go out. You want to go out with an exclamation mark, and you want to know, that all eyes are going to be on this, and it's going to mean something. You either lose to a champion or you beat a champion, and that's a nice exclamation and a signature closure on a stellar career. So I think that we were all excited. You know that when that fight was first announced that it was going to be happening in November or December, that was great. I loved it, and look what happened now. But
once again, boxing lets us down.
It does.
And I was talking to a guy last night, and talking about boxing, and he says, boxing's it's suffering a slow death, and I've heard that, for years and years and years, people have been saying it, but it's hard to defend the sport these days, Sal, because we don't have fighters that fans can relate to. I just don't feel, as much as I enjoy the PBC's frequency on TV with boxing events. They seem to be targeting and attracting short-term fans, which the sport doesn't need. We need long-term fans. But my biggest hang-up is fighters don't fight. They don't fight the real fights. And what's worse is that these short-term fans are accepting it. They're accepting that. And at the end of the day, if you don't have long-term fans, at some point, your fan base is going to die off, and unfortunately, I kind of am starting to feel that that's what's happening right now.
Well, like I said, people are smart enough to realize the black and white issues versus the fluff without the stuff, and I say that from time to time, and that's the bottom line. People want to see the real deal, the real thing, what's going to go out, and you could sell people on the frills and the thrills and everything else, but the bottom line is, when you want the two best fighters to get in the ring and do it all and make it all, that's why we always look back and reflect back to the years when the best fighters wanted to step in a ring with the best fighters, because that was the only way to eliminate the idea and remove the doubt of who is the best fighter out there.
Do you think that 25 years from now, people are going to say, oh, man, what happened to the Floyd Mayweather days when he used to fight? I don't. Because Floyd Mayweather, although Floyd Mayweather was successful in keeping his O intact, at least so far, and he was successful in making boatloads of cash, and still has some so far, what he's never done, and I challenge anybody to even, show me one, what he's never done is been involved in an extremely exciting fight. I'm sorry, he hasn't. And
you and I were there when we were watching Canelo Alvarez. And that wasn't extremely exciting.
That fight was one of his more exciting, and that's the sad thing. That was one. I know
he stepped it up to win, but man, I tell you, I almost fell asleep there.
Well, he just, when you think of Floyd, you think of his record, you think of his money, you think of him beating up on women and young security guards. But you don't think of him being exciting in the ring. I'm sorry, you just don't. And I don't care. The biggest Floyd Mayweather fans on the planet can't convince me that he's an exciting fighter, because he's not. And I believe that the fighters that go down in history and that are remembered forever are the ones that garner excitement inside the squared circle, because that's what lives on. And when you go through the Hall of Fame names and some of these all-time greats, most of the fan favorites are exciting fighters. I mean, you can't get around it.
No, exactly. No, that's what I'm saying. The eras and the segments of boxing in the decades that have been previous are stellar that we can recall. It's had its dry times. It's had its times where we were waiting for boxing to explode back on to the scene. And, that's what I'm saying. I'm hoping now is the drought or a cyclical reminder that we can count on, that boxing will return to a heyday. I just don't know when, and I hope you and I are alive to see it. You know.
Hey, you remember the most interesting man from Dos Equis?
Oh, the most interesting guy, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, I loved him. Well,
I love the commercial. I mean,
well, he went to Mars. He got on the thing, so he's disappeared.
Yeah.
And now apparently they've introduced another most interesting man. I haven't seen any of the spots yet, but I saw that there's another guy out there trying to do it. I think that I'm going to be shocked. I know we're off topic, but I'm going to be shocked if this guy makes the impact that the last most interesting guy made, because I was hoping that Dos Equis was going to change that whole shtick, because now the new most interesting guy, who they feel is going to appeal to a younger audience, is going to be competing with the other most interesting guy, who was more interesting than this interesting guy. This is not that much of an interesting conversation, actually.
no, it is. It warrants a little attention, and I want to know whatever happened to the most interesting guy, because I thought he set the precedent. He was there. He was the original most interesting guy. I loved his dry, flat deliveries and everything else. But no, this new guy is not going to be as successful as the old guy.
No, we'll
There's
see.
only one most interesting guy.
That's right. And he's in Mars right now. But hey, I got an email to read from my man Jesse. So let's see what Jess has to say. He says, "Hey Billy C, I saw the Iran Barkley versus Roberto Duran fight, and man, was that a war! That's how fights should be: nonstop action from the first through the 12th. I had Barkley winning the fight by a narrow margin, but he was more aggressive and throwing more punches and connecting. It was a great fight. Iran Barkley." For some young fans that, obviously all boxing fans have heard of Roberto Duran, but you may not have heard of Iran the Blade Barkley. This was one big middleweight. This guy was a middleweight. He was big. He would fight. He would come back. He reminded me kind of a combination of a Evander Holyfield and even a young Roberto Duran, and he had good recuperating powers. He was aggressive, and he was just big and strong. Remember Iran Barkley, man? I loved him.
Iran Barkley was great. I used to see him fight at the Sands Casino and down in Atlantic City and all this stuff. And yeah, he was one of those guys. He was always in the mix of being one of the top contenders and being the best, and he was always dangerous. And I don't know if he lasted as long to be a journeyman. No, I'm just teasing. But no, Iran Barkley was a great fighter.
Speaking of journeyman, Jesse says, hey, Billy, what's your thoughts on Hurd versus his new opponent, Jojo Dan? Is this a legit fight? Jojo Dan does not think he's a journeyman. With three losses, I think he's got 3 losses maybe. Jojo Dan was a top prospect, then contender, and he is a world title challenger. And I agree. I don't think Jojo Dan is an easy opponent for Hurd. I think Hurd might be a bit overrated. I think that Jojo Dan, depending upon the condition that he comes in as, might be a tougher opponent. The only thing is I believe Jojo Dan is fighting at a bigger weight class than he normally does. So I still like the fight. And we'll see what happens. So Jojo Dan is not an easy opponent. Late substitutes, a week or so, 2 weeks away, sometimes can give fighters some trouble.
Absolutely.
What are you doing? Throwing things around? You're
you know what? My hand. I'm shadow boxing while you're saying this. I'm slipping them. I'm moving them, and my hand actually just caught the cord.
Well,
okay,
you're giving me a headache with all the
Excited.
noise in my headset. Come on, Sal.
I talk about the.
Come on, Sal. We got to put you in a straitjacket so you could just talk. Oh man, that might even be worse. I don't know. But Jesse says, "Hey Billy."
Nothing straight about my jackets.
He says, "Hey Billy, see what's your thoughts on the Golden State Warriors this year? It seems to me that Zaza Pachulia is a mess defensively, and he's going to be a liability." When the Warriors start missing their shots, they seem to get rattled, and it bothers them. They should go to the bucket more often than relying on the long shots. It bothers me that they take wild shots, and in effect, that carries on to their defensive hustle. They start to make bad faces and lose their motivation. What's your thoughts? Weren't they the best three-point shooting team in the NBA last year. They got to the championship because of shooting the 3-pointer. I've always admired teams that stay doing what they do best, but I do agree with Jesse that you do have to go to the bucket more, especially in today's game of basketball. I think the Warriors are going to be fine. I mean, the season just started. As far as defensive, Zaza's got to lead the way there. So, defensively, all teams got to be good. I mean, in any sport, Sal, defense is the best offense, right?
Well, yes and no. I mean, how debatable is that? You look at football, you look at baseball, you look at boxing. Is defense the best offense? I don't know. It definitely is a necessity. But even in a game of chess, defense is the best. Could be the best offense.
Well, in boxing, I think offense is the best defense.
Now you're getting me defensively confused with offensive. I'm teasing.
No, but what I'm saying?
It is. I mean, you parry the punches, you slip the punches. It's great if it opens up and you counter. I mean, there are many world champions that built a great living as a counterpuncher.
Yeah, well, in some sports, defense is the best offense, but in others, offense is the best defense. So,
I like that. Offense is the best defense.
And then in other sports, you have offense and defense. So just do well in both. That's all.
I get very defensive with my offense.
Well, I get offensive trying to defend you. But anyway,
appreciate that.
Anyway, in Major League Baseball, World Series, man, let's get to that for a second.
Oh boy, we're all tied up. Go ahead.
That's right. The Cubbies tied the series at 1 apiece when they beat up on the Cleveland Indians yesterday, 5-1. And now the series goes to Chicago. We'll pick up again tomorrow night. The Cubs pitcher, Jake Arrieta, forced 2 ground balls and 9 fly balls, and went 5 2/3 innings, only giving up 2 hits and 1 earned run. He finished the game with a 1.59 ERA to get him the win. The Indians, they put up 4 hits, only scoring 1 run, but they had 2 errors. Cubbies, 5 runs from 9 hits to help them with that 5-1 win. So this World Series is getting interesting, just like I thought. I hope the viewership is going to be good for this, because I know a lot of people pulling for the Cubs, like myself, but the Indians are a no-joke team. And did you see that your ex-Yankee Chapman pitched a pretty good inning, too, for the Cubs last night? So, it's amazing to see 2 of the Yankees guys that they got rid of are both in the World Series, one being with the Indians and one being with the Cubs. So that just goes to show you never know, right?
You never know. And I'll tell you what, the Cubs did do it in dominant fashion last night, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. It's going to be exciting.
My man Joel is in the chat room, and he says, how about those Canadians? Well, in the NHL action, yes, his Canadians beat my Islanders 3-2. The Rangers, they topped the Bruins 5-2. The Oilers beat the Capitals 4-1. And the Quack Quack Ducks beat the Predators 6-1. Let's go to the NBA scoreboard. We got the Heat beat the Magic 108-96. Hassan Whiteside had 18 points, 14 rebounds, and an assist. The Pacers beat the Mavericks 130-121. Miles Turner led the way, 30 points, 16 rebounds, and an assist. My Nets, they were double-digit underdog. They kept it close, but they lost. The Celtics beat them 122-117. Isaiah Thomas led the way for the Celts, 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 9 assists. The Raptors topped the Pistons 109-91. DeMar DeRozan had 40 points, Sal, 4 rebounds, and an assist.
Wow.
The Hornets 107 over the Bucks to 96. Michael Kidd Glitch had 23 points, 14 rebounds, and an assist. The Grizzlies topped the Timberwolves 102-98, 21 points for the 21, 4, and 5, 4 rebounds and 5 assists for the leader of the Grizzlies. That I don't have written down, so more power to you, leader of the Grizzlies. Nuggets. I got to get better on that. The Nuggets.
Leader of the Grizzlies.
The leader of the Grizzlies, not to be confused with the leader of the pack. But
I was going to say, the leader of the Grizzlies.
Yeah,
exactly. That doesn't sound right.
The Nuggets, 107-102 over the Pelicans. Joseph Nurkic had 23 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists. The Thunder, not from the down under, but the Thunder from Oklahoma City, they beat the 76ers 103-97. Russell Westbrook, 32 points, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists. 1 assist away from a triple-double. Too bad for Russell, but again, he led the way for the Thunder. The Kings beat the Suns 113-94. Rudy Gay had 22 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. And the Lakers upset the Rockets 120-114. Julius Randle had 34 points, 8 rebounds, and get this, Sal, 17 assists. How do you give 17 assists and still score 34 points? Congratulations to Randle on that. I applaud that for spreading the ball around. But that's what happened in the NBA, in the World Series, and the NHL last night. Any thoughts?
Oh, that was you just brought me around the world in sports. That was great.
That's it.
No thoughts. Right now I'm into the World Series mode and some of the football. I just want to see my Giants come back a little bit and keep that winning record going.
I think they. I don't even know who they play. I'll be getting into the.
We got a big weekend here, Billy C. Every year around this time, around Halloween, we have the rivalry of all rivalries, at least in Georgia and Florida world. We have the Georgia Bulldogs taking on the Florida Gators in Jacksonville, Florida. And this is a rivalry. This island fills up. In fact, it gets filled to capacity. Sometimes I think it's going to sink. We have more people that come to the island to celebrate. And I think even a lot of college students, families from all over the world, they come this week to celebrate with the Georgia-Florida football game.
Well, Georgia's let me down. I thought Georgia was going to be there at the end. Their defense, which I thought would
is not the best offense, by the way.
Well, their offense, I love the quarterback, the young quarterback, but Jason Easton. But their defense has let me down. I thought that they would have a more stout defense, but they don't. But it ought to be a good game. We got a couple of big rivalries because my favorite college team, Alabama, they're playing LSU, and it's a big game for both teams there. Alabama's been playing. They are the number 1 team in the nation, and they are undefeated. But you got to give credit to the Bama team because. The last 3 weeks they fought. They played some tough teams. They beat Tennessee. They beat Ole Miss. And the last week they played Texas A&M. And Texas A&M was undefeated. LSU always gives the Crimson Tide a tough game. And don't forget Auburn as well. So it ain't an easy road to being the best in college football. But let's talk a little about boxing real quick. A couple of other things I wanted to add. Demetrius Andrade, a junior middleweight who I believe could very well be the best junior middleweight fighter in the world today. Check this out, and this is, I hate to go from thinking positive when we talk about other sports to a downer. I don't mean to be Debbie Downer here, but Demetrius Andrade was ordered to fight the WBA junior middleweight champion, who's Jack Culcay. And apparently, the golden Jack Culcay, who's got a record of 22 wins, 1 loss, and 11 of his W's coming by knockout. Andrade, FYI, he's 23-0 with 16 knockouts. Apparently, still hasn't signed his contract. The WBA ordered this fight, and according to Demetrius Andrade, because he said, and I quote, "I signed my contract to fight Jack Culcay, and I'm very excited to get back in the ring in November." he's saying November 5th. I don't know if that fight is going to be happening November 5th, because he says now all we got to do is wait for Colque to sign his contract. If he hasn't signed his contract, in case anybody's following the date, November 5th is next weekend. Is that possible that the fight is going to take place even though there's only one side of the contract signed?
I never heard of that really, but we'll see. You never know in the world of boxing. You know, I thought you know, when I was growing up, I used to watch every Saturday. I thought it was called the Wild World of Sports. I didn't know it was the Wide World of Sports. So I think boxing will always have that facet to it, the wild world of boxing.
Well, speaking of wild, remember Richard Schaefer? He was the CEO of Golden Boy, and they had that nasty split up, and he had to stay away. And you know, he was the guy that had the the good relationship with Showtime, and
Go away,
and all that
Yes.
stuff. Well, he had gotten his promoter's license, and he formed a new promotional team called Ringstar Sports, and he is going to be promoting his first card soon. As a matter of fact, he's co-promoting the December 10th Showtime event, which has Jesus Cuellar going up against Abner Mares, and Jermal Charlo taking on J-Rock Williams. But check this out. Not only is he co-promoting it with Showtime, of course, and Al Heyman's got his hands in it, but TGB Promotions, Tom Brown, it seems to me that the plan all along, Sal, Richard Schaefer was going to snuggle up and form his promotional company to continue with the PBC stuff with Al Heyman, and of course Showtime, who has also snuggled up with Al Heyman. What's your thoughts?
Well, you know, and I was reading today, I think on one of the pages, that the PBC is going to slate about 7 or 9 fights for 2017, that they promise to be competitive and very attractive. So, you know, we'll see with the what's happening and unfolding behind the scenes with these strange bedfellows.
Curtis Stevens. They announced a couple of weeks ago that Curtis Stevens was going to be taking on James De La Rosa on the undercard of Sergey Kovalev and Andre Ward on the HBO's pay-per-view event taking place in a couple of weeks, November 19th. Well, yesterday was announced that that fight, Stevens against De La Rosa, has now been added to the pay-per-view version of the televised card. Originally, it was going to be on the undercard, but it wasn't going to be part of the televised card, and now it is. And according to Kathy Duva, she said, and I quote, "After we announced Curtis would be fighting on the undercard, untelevised undercard of the Kovalev-Ward fight, we heard a lot of fans asking that this fight be moved to the TV slot so they could watch Curtis Stevens. So, what the fans want, the fans got." You believe her? Do you think that she really moved this fight because of the demand from the fans? I mean, Curtis Stevens, you know, thank God he got rid of his uncle or whatever it is, his brunkle, Andre Rozier, who I think is one of the most overrated, worst trainers in the sport of boxing today. This guy gets all these accolades for what? Curtis Stevens left him and has seemingly turned his career around. And he is an exciting fighter. And De La Rosa is an exciting fighter, too. But do you think that they moved them onto the pay-per-view portion of the televised card because the fans demanded it, or maybe for other reasons?
You know, it's. I think maybe it was other reasons. I don't know too many fans out there that would like to be exclusive enough to pay for something that was free. But hey, I could be wrong anytime. Kathy Duva is also from some of the old school because she learned from some of the best. Lou Duva, you know, who was a grassroots kind of promoter in the early days as main events was evolving.
Well, I love Kathy Duva.
Yeah,
I mean,
Kathy Duva, I remember her when she worked for a newspaper. And Lou, this is when Lou was fond of me coming up as an amateur. And he tried to promote me, including my first international bout against with the United States boxing team / Jersey Gladiators in the old day at Ice World with the Irish national team. That's when I first fought Sean Doyle from Ireland who was a four-time European champ with over 250 fights. And after my victory there, I know that was a time when Kathy Duva did a real nice article for me while she was in the newspaper before she married and Dan and joined in. I know those old days. There was nothing like those old days. They were really interesting. And yeah, so Kathy Duva has learned from the best, and she's a very bright woman, and I think she does a great job with boxing.
I think she's attractive. I think she's kind of.
She always was.
I think she's kind of hot, to tell you the truth.
You know, she married Dan Duva, and she was brought into the Duva clan and the fold there with the promotional outfit. She does have a law degree. She was an attorney, as well as Dan Duva was an attorney. So yeah, I know a lot of that history, and there was a lot of things. She learned the facets of boxing and the world of boxing, and only the ring was square and all the other stuff with the some of the happenings that are boxing in and out behind the scenes and everything else. So she's fully schooled and vetted, and she does a good job. She does just as good a job as anybody else out there.
Well, put a good word in for me, will you? I'd like to,
Easy.
Anyway, moving right along. Andre Ward, Sergio. Speaking of the pound for pound pay-per-view card, Andre Ward going up against Sergey Kovalev. This is such an important fight, and once again, my whole thing with Andre Ward is, Andre Ward is an extremely talented fighter. There's no question about it. But one of the problems with Andre Ward is that he's never this is a guy that demands, all this recognition, and he says that, he should be the number one guy, et cetera, et cetera. But the problem is nobody, aside from us, the diehard fan, I don't think many people know who the hell Andre Ward is. And here's a great example. This fight is a couple of weeks away, and we haven't heard much out of either camp, to be honest with you. And I wonder how the views are going to be. I wonder how the buys are going to be. Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalev are very evenly matched in terms of their height. They're the same size. Their age, they're a year apart. Kovalev's 33 and Andre Ward's 32. Their rankings, the computer ranks Kovalev number 1, but they have Andre Ward jumped up to number 3. We have Andre Ward at number 4 on our rankings, and Kovalev number 1. So, the reach is very similar. Andre Ward has a 71-inch reach. Kovalev, unbelievably, has a longer reach, 72.5. So, the number of rounds, Andre Ward has over 100 rounds more. He's fought 30 times, 218 rounds. Kovalev's fought 31 times, but he's only 114 rounds, which indicates the knockout ratio. Sergey Kovalev has an 84% knockout ratio, and Andre Ward only has a 50% knockout ratio. But we know that Andre Ward now thinks he's a knockout puncher, right, Sal? So,
we do.
Come on, right?
Hey, you think that's going to be Paulie is a little mentally irregular to think like that,
To think like what? I'm just saying, do you think that he's going to try to knock out Sergey Kovalev? You really think he's going to think that?
Well, like I said, if he's got that confidence, he think he's going to do it. He's going to go out there. They're going to feel each other out that first round or two, and who knows? Maybe he's going to see an opening, and if he thinks he's a knockout artist and he's going to come in and close the show and open it up, and that's where he might get caught if his power can't back what his intent is.
I still think the pressure is going to fall on Andre Ward and his mobility. If his knee can hold up, he's going to be running all night long. I think that fight might turn out to be anticlimactic. But I'll tell you a fight that won't be anticlimactic. But I'm not so sure I want to pay for it. It's a fight that's scheduled for this weekend. Juanma Lopez makes his return to the ring against Wilfredo Vasquez Jr. It's a pay-per-view card. And I really wish it wasn't. I wish some television network picked this up, because I'm not so sure outside the Puerto Rican audience is really going to buy this fight. It's in Puerto Rico, so I'm not so sure that the popularity. Plus, it hasn't been promoted that well. Juanma Lopez against Wilfredo Vasquez Jr. A lot of people felt that Juanma Lopez shouldn't even be fighting anymore. He suffered some devastating knockout losses. The co-main event is Jonathan Oquendo, who's an extremely exciting fighter. I love watching this guy fight. But they got him in against Gustavo Molina, who, in my opinion, is undermatched. I mean, or overmatched. I think Oquendo is going to have an easy way of him. They have a couple of other young fighters on this card. I just don't think it's worthy of a pay-per-view. I mean, this was one of my hang-ups about pay-per-views, a couple of years ago when we were being charged for mediocre fights, and here we are again with a fight that really shouldn't be a pay-per-view. And I don't care what the price is. I think it's like either $29 or $39, something like that. But what do you think?
No, I agree. You really don't know too much about these guys, and outside of unless you're a diehard fan of theirs. And no, I'm with you. It just should be maybe the PBC should have broadcast this. Teasing. I'm still caught up on the other topic we were talking about, and I know we shouldn't go back, but with Andre Ward and Kovalev, you think these guys would be promoting this fight? This is going to be one of the biggest fights at the end of the year, and you just don't hear too much about it. These guys should be promoting themselves. The promoters should be promoting themselves. You should be hearing it on the news channels, everything else.
Well, they are talking about the undercard, like I just mentioned today. Yeah. Curtis Stevens, La Rosa has been moved to the pay-per-view portion of the televised card. And let's be real, Sergey Kovalev, his English not so good. And Andre Ward traditionally isn't a trash talker, although he does seem like a diva these days. But I agree. I think that there should be more hype about this fight. I mean, and
creating some stimulation of excitement here.
Well, there's more hype. There's
going to be a big fight.
There's more hype. There's more hype over fights that aren't going to happen. There's more hype. There's more hype over the possibility of Klitschko against Anthony Joshua. There's more hype over chicken shit Daniel Jacobs against Triple G that may or may not happen. Who the hell knows? There's more hype over whether or not Pacquiao is going to win and earn another shot at Mayweather. And quite honestly, Pacquiao Vargas isn't even being promoted that well, So what's happening? I've made this statement years ago, but it's so true still to today. Promoters don't promote anymore. Managers don't manage. Fighters don't fight. What's going on?
No, they take. And that's why, Billy. I'm sorry, you just hit a nerve. Oh boy, I'm telling you. The old days with the grassroots promoters and having to sell the tickets and creating the excitement about these fighters, that's what drove the sport and electrified fans to want to see and want to follow the fight game. Today, they just take it for granted. Okay, we're going to do pay-per-view. We'll charge people. We'll get advertisers, sponsors, and everything else. And, hey, it's all taken care of. It's all done on the internet. It's all done in the news. It's all done here. But, no, it's the old days of the grassroots promotion that really did drive boxing for a long, long period of time.
Well,
and the development of some of these young stars of tomorrow.
Well, the promoters, when I first coined it, that promoters don't promote anymore, it was when a lot of promoters were resurrecting old name fighters. Retreads is what I used to call them. And you'd get a guy that's long past his prime, but he's a recognizable name. And they put him in, and they figure that the name would sell. Well, you're right. There's a new generation of fighters that nobody's ever heard of, and unless you're with the right team, you're not going to get heard of. And at the end of the day, the sport suffers because it's not spidering out the way it should, and we end up with these guys that are basically frauds. No disrespect, but Deontay Wilder is a fraud. He hasn't fought anybody to be a champion. Andy Ruiz getting a shot at a world title. He's a fraud. He's never even beaten a top 10 guy. Daniel Jacobs, great story. Exciting fighter when he's fighting a heavy bag. But I mean, he's a fraud. These guys have not risen up through the ranks and proved their worth. They've been maneuvered through the ranks, and it's a shame. And what you end up with is a fighter that finally gets a big fight. He gets put into that fight. He gets his ass kicked. And then the fans who are not knowledgeable say, he was exposed. How could you say he was exposed when he was never exposed to fight a real fight to begin with? So that's not exposed. Yeah, I guess it is exposed to a degree, but is it really the fighter's fault? The fighter is technically just supposed to fight whoever they put in front of him. It's sad. Promoters don't promote. Fighters don't fight. Managers don't manage. Networks don't broadcast. I mean, what the hell's happened?
Oh man, it's true. It's true. It's a different world today. Everybody wants to pass the buck, but they don't pass the buck when it comes to a purse.
No, they don't. They don't want to share the buck when it comes to a purse. Al,
there you
come
go
on.
Again. Yeah.
My man Coach is saying in the chat room that he doesn't think too much of Demetrius Andrade. He's a Ward wannabe. And prima donna. I disagree. I think that very rarely do I disagree with Coach, but I don't think he's a Ward wannabe. I think that a lot of Demetrius Andrade's comments that go in the press is frustration because no one does want to fight this guy. And I'll tell you another big mistake that Demetrius, got it, get the idea. It's a big mistake that Demetrius Andrade made was signing with Joe DeGuardia and Artie Palello of Banner Promotions. I think that Star Boxing, no disrespect, I love Joe. He's a friend of mine, and Artie Palello, who's not a friend, but I know him from Banner. I think these are two promoters. They both got their claws into Demetrius, and they haven't really been able to produce. Both promoters' motto is don't invest a penny. They gobble up these fighters and then feed them to other fighters and other promoters that are willing to pay. Joe DeGuardia puts on some shows, small club shows. They're always mismatches. You know who's going to win. Banner Promotions is identical. The only difference between Artie and Joe is one lives in New York and one lives in the Philly area, So I just, they're an example of promotion teams that go out and buy their fighters a couple of wins and wait for somebody else to write the check. And I'm not trying to cause any trouble. I don't want to lose my relationship with either one of these guys, but the facts are the facts are the facts. The truth of the matter is to keep boxing popular, or to try to, let me rephrase it, to try to get boxing a little more popular than it is, you got to make the right fights. Look at the fights that we talk about. People still talk about the Keith Thurman, Sean Porter fight, the Leo Santa Cruz, Carl Frampton fight. Big fights that people talk about, and why? Were they Mayweather-type fights? Absolutely not. They were action-packed fights, That's why people still talking about them, and we need more of those, Sal.
Well, that's the whole thing. You and I can recall the fights that we saw 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And we can recall like it was just last week. Oh, maybe a little more than last week. But still, we could talk about some of the details of that fight, some of the rounds of that fight that were meaningful. I can't do that. I didn't see it with Manny Pacquiao and Mayweather. I didn't see it with this fight. No, we had some great fights this year that we definitely can recall 10 years from now, but it's not like they had a signature sign-off and an asterisk above the name, and not yet. But these fights of tomorrow or today, need to become the fights of tomorrow we're going to look back and talk about. I don't know what the likelihood of that is going to be.
Coach is in the chat room, and he says that today the problem with promoters is that they use the computer to fill the seats, meaning social media, and then if they don't fill the seats, they give the tickets away, which is
that's
true.
The whole thing,
Well, here's the problem with that, and I learned this the hard way when I was an assistant GM for a pro baseball team, and then subsequently when I started promoting boxing events. I learned a long time ago that you can never give a ticket away, and the reason isn't so much a financial loss. It's that you create a customer that'll never pay for a ticket. And once you give tickets away, you have a customer that will never pay for a ticket. So in a sense, you're shooting yourself in your foot. You know, you're pulling a Plexico Burris, who was at Sal's neighborhood pizzeria, shot himself in the leg, literally. But you know,
Plexico was at the pizzeria with a bunch of great other football and world champion fighters.
Yeah, it was a great time. But you know, the truth of the matter is you know, you can't, just because you want to show the audience watching on TV that there's a lot of asses in the seats, by giving tickets away, you're ruining your ticket sales for the next event. You know, and it's a shame. I mean, you know, I talk about long-term fans being needed in the sport of boxing. You know, the success of the NFL and the success of basketball, NBA, and NHL, and of course Major League Baseball, is the long-term fan. The fan. Look at the poor Cubs fans. People have lived a whole lifetime never seen the Cubs win a World Series since the last one was in 1908. You know, now, you know, they got a chance. Think of poor guys like me who did get to see the Jets win the Super Bowl as a young boy in 1969, and probably will go to my grave never seeing them win again. You know, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to be a fan. Boxing, you know how many times, if I had a nickel for every time somebody said to me, I used to be a boxing fan, I'd have money like Sal Senecola by now. You know, I mean, you know, come on. You know, I mean, everyone says those words, Sal. I used to be a fan. They lost interest, so they went on to something else. You know, boxing can't survive if it keeps going the way it does. It can't.
Well, not in the reality or the realm for which you and I use as a benchmark of.
It can't even continue at the way it's going because the fans won't. Come on. Are you telling me that there's a young fan that just started getting into boxing now that's going to stay with it with the way it's unfolding now? Is there anyone out there interested in watching Floyd Mayweather-esque type fights or complete showcase fights when you turn? Listen, we do the Billy C Challenge every week. You know, do you think that we happen to have a group of guys that know boxing so well that they're getting 90% of their questions right all the time because they're so knowledgeable? Or is it because the fights are so easy to predict? If you go and look under the Billy C Challenge section on BillyCBoxing.com, look at the overall winning percentages of all the players, the year-to-date winning percentages. I mean, they're very high. If you were betting money on any other sport and you had 70, 80, 90% winning percentage, you'd be a rich man or woman. You know, I mean, it to me, it defines that the fights are predictable. No disrespect to our Billy C Challenge players, but not that they know all of that. It's just that the fights are predictable, Sal.
Yeah, a lot of them can be. And though you know you do wear that magic hat that you kind of have the answers and predict a lot of events and outcomes in sports. But I know what you mean.
Yeah,
no joking aside.
No, but
I know what you mean.
I know, you know, listen, you know, I do have a pretty decent winning percentage on my crystal ball picks for sports. Right now we're 83% winning. I'll give my picks out tomorrow on tomorrow's show for Fan Driven Friday. But you know, the truth of the matter is I do have a good winning percentage in boxing, but I'm telling you, it's because most of the fights are showcase and predictable fights. You know, it's not that I'm, you know, that great, and neither is everybody else in the challenge. It's just, it's sad that the fights are so predictable. You know, I mean, it's sad. You know, but don't forget we'll be opening up the phone lines tomorrow on tomorrow's show. You know what? We got somebody calling in right now. Let's take a call.
Let's answer. Look, come on. Let's take that call.
Let's take a call. We got somebody on the line right now. We feel like taking a call, even though it's not Fan Driven Friday. What's your name? Where you calling from?
I'm sorry, Billy. It's Mike from Michigan.
Mike from Michigan. Mike from Michigan. All right. I'm glad we picked up this phone, man. What's up, brother? How you been?
Actually, I've been terrible. I lost my job. Had some deaths in the family. It's been bad.
Oh, God.
How are you been, Billy?
Sorry to hear that.
Sorry to hear that, Mike. I mean,
it's okay.
You
gotta be man about it and take it on the chin. Yeah. And you're a boxing show, so let's talk some boxing, Billy. Is that cool?
That's cool, man. Brent, what's on your mind?
I'm not going to buy the Manny Pacquiao Vargas fight. I don't care what's on the undercard. It's the whole principle of it. I just don't want to buy it. And I know you said in previous podcasts that you liked. I thought you said that you liked that Bob Arum was going this route, doing it himself. But I just, along with my subscription that I renewed to Showtime because I thought Ruslan Provodnikov would be fighting more, and my HBO subscription, I can't afford it, Like, I just can't afford to keep buying fights, and, yeah. I don't know who's really gonna do that besides hardcore boxing dudes and Manny Pacquiao fans,
Here's the thing. The reason why I thought that it was a good thing that Top Rank and Bob Arum were doing the pay-per-view was because what I thought with pay-per-views is I thought that the pay-per-view in overall had become piss poor, to be honest with you. The fight cards were nothing special. They used to be what we saw on regular HBO and Showtime, and all of a sudden we were paying for it, What Bob Arum has done, because none of the pay-per-view companies picked it up, is he decided to produce and distribute it on his own. And as a result, he's trying to beef it up like it used to be in the 80s and prior, where you'd get a pay-per-view card that was pretty full of good competitive fights. And the reason why I thought that it was going to be good for the sport is that maybe because of budgetary restraints from HBO and Showtime, maybe more promoters will take this step, and then us, as the boxing fan, would be treated to better pay-per-view cards. But with that said, I do agree with you. It sucks overall that you even got to pay for it. But I do happen to like the Pacquiao-Vargas fight itself. I think it's not an easy fight for Manny. It's not an easy fight for Manny Pacquiao, Mike. Vargas is a good, tough. Well, I bet you Manny Pacquiao's hoping it's going to be easy because it's going to lead to a Mayweather rematch. But I think Vargas is a power puncher. He takes punishment well. He's fought some tough fights. Manny Pacquiao is not the same Manny Pacquiao of 5-6 years ago. I don't think it's a layup fight, my man.
Agreed, except for I don't think Vargas is a power puncher. I think that Saddam Ali was a little bit overrated at the time and hadn't really been checked on the chin and got caught with a really good shot. Beyond that, he's got 10 knockouts in 27 fights, is it? I mean, I just don't, and I know he hurt Tim Bradley at the end of the fight, but you can hurt anybody. Paulie Malignaggi can hurt somebody at the right moment at the right time.
Yeah, maybe me, maybe me or you, Mike. Maybe Paulie can hurt me or you or Sal, but
that's what he was saying. Paulie said that before. I bet you I'll knock out you guys in the crowd. Well, I bet you wouldn't knock out me. Anyways, one last thing, Billy. I see so much BS about Triple G every day. Is this becoming a thing now? Like, you know how we had Manny Pacquiao hatred and Floyd Mayweather hatred? The bigger the person gets, the more people hate him. And it seems to be, like you said, Floyd Mayweather fans and or Andre Ward fans that I get the most flack from when I try to defend Triple G when I see fit.
Well,
you see that?
And I'm going to say what a lot of people are afraid to say, Mike. I think
I'm a racist.
No, I think it's reverse. I think it's reverse racism. I think that a lot of these fans are not giving Triple G credit because he's not black. I think that they stick up for Floyd and justify all of Floyd's cherry-picked fights and all of this stuff and try to convince people that they're great. And, anytime somebody starts to focus on any other fighter, they get discredited. And I hate to say it, but I think it's based on some of the racial tension that goes on in our world today. And it's not fair. I think that Triple G is the real fighter. And how can people blame him for not fighting other fights when nobody wants to step in the ring with him. This whole Daniel Jacobs BS, Daniel Jacobs calling him out,
God.
and then Daniel Jacobs turning down $2 million to fight him. I mean, give me a break. Not having enough time to prepare when they had 8 weeks.
Right.
It's the same thing of Saul Canelo Alvarez. He's calling out us Mexicans don't F around. I'll fight him right now, tonight, right now. And then all of a sudden, he's not even looking forward to even getting in the same bus as Triple G. I mean, come on, man. It's a joke. They're scared of the guy.
That was a real good trick that De La Hoya pulled when the Mexicans don't F around. That came out because I was like, oh, maybe he's for real, and maybe we're gonna get a fight, and I got excited. And then I realized, when he vacated the belt and everything, I said to myself, oh, it's just boxing like it usually is.
Yep.
And that sucks because you are 100% right when you say we get fleeced. And I try to say this to everybody, and I try to use your analogies the best I can. Football, even individual sports. In tennis, the tennis players face the best tennis players. The best badminton players face the best badminton players.
That's right.
You always are supposed to face the best, and we don't get that. And then we got to pay ridiculous amounts of money on top of it and subscribe to crap programming like CBS that I don't want to, I don't want to subscribe to Showtime, but to watch boxing, I kind of have to.
And that's the sad truth. That's the sad truth, and it's a shame. But Mike, I'm glad we picked up the call, and I'm sorry to hear for your losses, and I'm sure you're going to rebound because you're a fighter. And if Sal has his way, he'll tell you vote for Donald Trump because Trump's going to make America great again. So
Wait, Sal said that?
Sal is a Trump supporter. Yeah, Hey, I'll be honest. I'm going to vote for Donald too. I can't continue. I can't even imagine us continuing on the course we are, because that's what we'll get with Hillary. But that's just my opinion,
Well, I just want to say hi to Sal because I met him in person. I know he won't remember me, but
he's on the line. He's on the line
Mike,
right
I'm
now.
on the line. How are you, Mike?
I'm good, and I want to say that I loved your restaurant, and it was really, really good. And Billy's always talking about pizza. He'll even send you a pizza across the United States, and it was literally the best pizza I've ever had because I like New York style pizza, and it reminded me of that. And man, I just like your place, and I like you. So,
Mike, I thank you so much for that. Hey, Mike, when were you in?
He was there for the Mayweather fight.
Yeah, the Mayweather fight. That's right. I remember you now. Damn, I'm so glad you came in for that. And I thank you so much for that compliment. And, Mike, I hope maybe one day we get to serve you again. And thank you so much for that compliment.
No problem. I would hope so, and let's hope it's a better fight that we get.
Oh, you and me both.
Too.
Mike, I often say, Billy called it that night that Mayweather and Pacquiao will get back in the ring again. And I said to him that night, boy, I'll tell you, but it's not going to be a different event. They could fight 100 times, and Mayweather's going to win 95 times. It's not going to be the same.
Well, we can still hope, right, Mike?
We can still hope.
Yeah, right. All right, I'll let you go. I know I'm not supposed to be calling at this time, but like I said, I got to pick my battle, so I'll let you go. Thanks a lot, Billy.
Mike.
And I'm always listening. Okay.
Mike, hang in there, my man.
Yeah. We'll do. Thank you.
All right,
all the best.
Take care. That's Mike from Michigan, man.
Mike's a good guy. I do remember Mike, and he was a nice guy. And
he drove all the way. He drove all the way from Michigan to your place, man.
I know.
And then I think he only stayed one night. I don't think he stayed.
I
2
think
nights.
so. And Bill, I felt so bad that night because we had so many of your fans show up just unannounced from the Carolinas, from here with busloads or van loads. And we couldn't fit any more people in our restaurant.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Had we known before, we would have made an exclusive entry for your fans alone. I mean, that was the night we had all the superstars. We had Ray Mercer, we had Michael Mora, we had, as you said, Plexico Burris, we had all these guys just from all different sports, and we were over capacity.
I tell you what we didn't have. my 12 people from South Carolina who don't listen to me anymore. They got
Well, that's what I'm saying. I felt so bad about that because had we known, I mean, we would have definitely made arrangements to get them in there. And but I'll tell you, that was the busiest time in our entire history of our pizzeria. We had people in the courtyard. I mean, there were hundreds of people that wanted to get in our doors. We couldn't even accommodate, and it was tough. But I mean, it was a great event. But I just felt bad that we.
You need to expand. You need to take over that other building. But
well, they're both open now.
There you
I
go.
got to make a quick
There
move.
you go.
But I never forget what my father used to say. He used to say, Salvatore, when something's not a broker, you don't fix it. And then when you expand in a lot of restaurants, it's a kiss of death.
You know what my father used to say to me all the time? God damn it, what the hell are you doing now? Get the hell away from me. But anyway. Hey, Sal, on this day in boxing history, October 27th, in 1943, Sammy Engot wins a 15-round decision over Slugger White to win the vacant NBA World Lightweight title. It took place in Los Angeles, California. Wow. On this day in 1996, Darung C. Surawat wins a 10-round decision over Nana Kanata to regain the WBA Bantamweight title, and that took place in Bangkok. On this day in 1896, George Kid Levine knocks out Jack Everhart in the 24th round to retain his World Lightweight title. It took place at the Bohemian Sporting Club in New York City. New York City had so many athletic clubs back in the day. On this day in 1942, one of the most forgotten and underrated fighters in boxing history, Ezra Charles, wins a 10-round decision over Joey Maxim in their light heavyweight fight in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Ezra Charles improved to 29 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. And Joey Maxim drops to 20 wins and 6 losses. And you heard it right. I said light heavyweight. And here's another FYI. Ezra Charles started out as a middleweight. Everybody remembers him, if they remember him at all, as a heavyweight world champion. On this day,
that's right.
In 1931, Panama Al Brown wins a 15-round decision over Eugene Hoyt to retain his world bantamweight title. And that took place in Montreal, Canada. And finally, one of my favorite fighters of all time, one of the top 10 greatest fighters of all time, on this day, October 27th, in 1903. Jack Johnson, the late, great Jack Johnson, wins a 20-round decision over Sam McVeigh to retain his colored world heavyweight title. That's correct. He had not won his world title yet, and the powers that be had the balls to separate world titles between whites and blacks, which was horrific of its day. But nonetheless, he retained his colored world title in Los Angeles, California. Jack Johnson improved to 15 wins, 3 losses, and 6 draws. And Sam McVeigh, he drops to 8-2. FYI, both Hall of Famers. Sal, tomorrow is a fan-driven Friday. And before we wrap it up, do you have any final thoughts?
Well, I just no. Actually, I want to prepare for tomorrow and have a great day. We had a good day today, and I know it's a little slow, but we did touch on some things, and I'm sure we'll capitalize on them tomorrow and parlay for that. But here's dreaming about the future of boxing, and may it have a recount of some of the beautiful fights from the past to learn from.
Well, there's some football on tonight, in addition to an NBA schedule and an NHL schedule. We've got some college football games on, which you can watch on the ESPN network. Excuse me. And, of course, Thursday Night Football on the NFL network is putting the Jacksonville Jaguars up against the Titans. It's a battle of 2 teams that are still rebuilding. And we'll give you all the reports. Obviously, I did not break down those games because I am staying away from all the games that are on this slate tonight in all sports. But we will give you the totals and all the outcomes on tomorrow's show. Don't forget that tomorrow is Fan-Driven Friday. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, give us a call tomorrow. We'll be opening up the phone lines, or make sure you drop us an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. If you take the time to write an email, we'll take the time to read it. One last thing, don't forget that we are on Fight TV and on their handheld application, Fight.tv. That's FITE. Download the app today. You can get it by visiting our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and clicking on the Fight TV banner, which is on the right-hand side. Now, for everyone that tries to access our website through your handheld, it does not automatically size. Please be patient. We're working on that. Just move your screen over. Click on the Fight TV banner and download the app. You won't regret it. You can catch our show on Fight TV every day, as well as some other programming and specials. So Fight TV is where it's at right now. So
hey,
what?
Bill,
What?
Before we leave, I did have one more thing to say. I'm sorry.
Come on, Columbo. What?
That's by the way, no, I did want to say hello to Max Williams, my pie guy, as you know, and he just went into the hospital for a little procedure today, and we hope we wish him a very speedy recovery. And I know he's listening, as he always does, and he always promotes us on the Southern Belt here. So, Max, good luck today, and we will see you and talk to you a little later, and we'll welcome you back as soon as you can, pal. Yeah, so all the best wishes, and let's get you healthy again.
My man Max better get back, because when I come there, if he's not there to make pizza, I don't know what it is, man. You know.
Hey, you know, I'm back on a pie line.
I know, but
beautiful pies.
But when Max is making pies, he's concentrating on pies. You're doing other things. You're singing, you're dancing.
I'm singing, I'm entertaining. We have a. You know, that's what I'm saying. Max does a fantastic job, phenomenal job. Before Max was on board, I threw about 99% of the pies. But Max being on board, he does such a great job. But it does allow me the opportunity to work at the business, not just in the business. So Max
Sal,
is so valuable.
You're throwing all these pies. Why don't you throw a few pies my way, Sal? Come on.
Absolutely. I'm going to invent the Frisbee pie. I'm going to toss it up to New York.
There you go. Hey, don't forget. Tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.
You know, Bill, I lost my kazoo.
You gotta go.
go.
There you go. Oh, well, come on.